You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the February 2025 regular council meeting for the Municipal District of St. Stephen. I'm Florence Mitchell. Today's meeting begins with a presentation of the audited 2023 consolidated financial statements by Teed Saunders Doyle. Council will later move to accept the results of the audit. Joe Moffett, leaseholder for the Oak Bay Campground, will also present to Council regarding the Tourism Accommodation Levy bylaw. Under bylaws, Council will move to give bylaw 03-23-1, an amendment to the bylaw respecting the remuneration of Council, its third and final reading. Under new business, Council will move to set a date of March 26, the next regular Council meeting, for public presentation of the proposed municipal plan. Council will also move to authorize the borrowing of funds from the Bank of Nova Scotia to meet current expenditures. Finally, Council will move to authorize the borrowing of funds from the Royal Bank of Canada for water and sewerage accounts. Now let's join Council in the Moosehead Room at the Garceland Civic Centre in St. Stephen.
Hi everyone, welcome to our Municipal District of St. Stephen Council agenda on Wednesday, February 26, 2025 at 6 p.m. It's call to order and just note that Councillor Harding is on the screen up there. So she is with us. Thank you, Councillor Harding. And everyone else for showing up. Let's see, before we begin, I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are gathered today on the ancestral unceded territory of the Pastunamakati peoples. And let's see, I need a mover and seconder that the agenda for the regular council meeting of February 26, 2025 be approved. Second. Councillor Heislip, Councillor Eastman, any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Any conflicts of interest this evening? Seeing none, thank you. All right, I need another mover and seconder for the minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 29, 2025 be approved as presented.
So moved.
Deputy Mayor Wheaton, Councillor Cornish. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Okay, I need a mover and seconder for the minutes of the special council meeting held on February 6, 2025 be approved with the amended on the note for St. Croix Wellness and Renewal Center, the change on that. So, a mover and seconder, please.
So moved.
Councillor Wright.
Second.
Councillor Eastman. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right. And then we're off to, I'll take a mover and seconder to go into the presentation of the audited 2023 consolidated financial statements by Teed Saunders Doyle and Company.
I move. Second.
Councillor Cornish, Councillor Heislip. This is presented by Peter Logan.
Just connecting.
And he's coming up on our screen there now. Hi, Peter.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Okay, I guess we'll give the floor to you. Peter?
Okay, jumping right in. Well, thanks for taking the time this evening. What I can do is I can share my screen, I believe. Yep, and I can bring the statements up on the big board, so we can go through them. There, can everybody see those?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So, and I know I think there's some new counselors around the table now as well. So, just sort of a brief overview, I guess, of what we do. So, we're required, the province requires each municipality to have an annual audit done. So, we take the accounting records of the town and their financial statements, and then we go ahead and do our audit, and which requires a bunch of different testing. Interviewing staff and some of the council members. And once we're done that, we then attach to the front of those statements our auditor's report, which is what we see here. So it's the independent auditor's report. And it just says basically our opinion paragraph, which is our first one there, it says that the town of St. Stephen is in compliance with what we call the Canada Public Sector Accounting Standards. So those are the standards that all municipalities are required to follow in Canada. So that is what we would call a clean audit of case. And so what we'll do now is we're going to go to your consolidated statement of operations. So this would be the 12 months for 2023 activity. And you'll see there we've got budget in the first column, your actual numbers, and then comparatives for 2022. And you'll see this year there's quite a difference, quite a change. One of the big things was this January 1st of 2023, there was the amalgamation. So there was some outlying communities were brought in within the town. So you can see that under the revenue, so the property tax warrant this year was 7.859 million compared to 5.817 billion last year. Some of the other notable items there, you'll see revenue from own sources, 1.165 million. So what that is, I'll just jump out. We've got a note that sort of breaks down some of the things in a bit more detail of the numbers that we have on that main income statement. So this shows you the revenue from own sources there, the 1.165 million. So that would be things like recreation. So the Civic Center is included in there. You can see that 516 for sales of service. You'll notice the miscellaneous, there's a fairly large number in there. So included in that 949,000, there was 400,000 received as part of an insurance claim. So that's the money that came in. And there was also some developer contributions as well. Those get recorded in that figure there. So that number, you never really know year over year when you're comparing that to budget, what it's going to be. It's really for the one-offs. That's where those things kind of get accumulated. So back on to the statement of operations. So we just looked at your revenue from own sources, and then a couple of other revenue items there. Unconditional grants, the 1.862 million, that's money that you see from the community funding. And that last year was 1.775 billion. And then the other big number there, the 3.9 million conditional transfers. This is an important number. What that represents would be funding that the town receives during the year for capital projects. So one of the things of public sector accounting standards that we're required to do is when you do receive funding for capital, that funding is included in income in the year that you get it. So even though that money is taken and it's spent on projects, sewer lines, water lines, that money will then, or those assets will then get amortized then over a number of years. But for public sector accounting services, we have to show all that income in the year that you get. And so that number can go up and down, just depending. You can see last year it was only 323,000. But this was a very busy year on the capital side for the town. So that's why you see that almost $4 million. The bulk of that, 2.6 million of that came in from the Regional Development Corporation, RDC. The COLA was 195,000. There was 614,000 through gas tax as well. And then you've got some interest income. That's interest income that's primarily on your overdue accounts. Also your reserve funds. And then your water and sewer revenue. So that was the 2.4 million. So total revenue this year, you can see it was quite a bit higher than last year. You were 18,330,000. And a big chunk of that increase would have been those conditional transfers. And then the next section is your expenses. So there you can see there's these several categories, and these categories are the same for each municipality. So general government services, so that's things like town hall, council, mayor, your CAO's office, as well as treasurer's office. So that's included in that category. Protective services, so that's going to be fire and your RCMP. And you'll see that's up quite a bit from last year, and that's the RCMP contract, which renewed for 2023. So that was expected to receive the budgeted amount, and already sort of factored in that you were going to get hit, or that was going to go up quite a bit. And then your other categories, you have transportation services, so that would be streets and roads. Your environmental health services, so that would be the your landfill waste, and that's gone up quite a bit as well. And again, that part of that would have been from the amalgamation included in there. And then you've got your the other big items are recreation. So that's going to be your civic center, parks, playgrounds, swimming pool. And then the other large expense item there is your water and sewer utility services. So those are $3,057,000. So you can see there the expenses this year were $15,396,000. So when you subtract that from the revenue up top, your surplus this year was $2.933 million. But it's important to understand that that surplus, because it was really generated because of the conditional transfers that came in. So that $4 million of capital funding, that's been spent. So it's not really a surplus that was extra cash over expenses. You know, those transfers, those conditional transfers, those projects, they will get expensed out over time. So it's not a perfect matching. So your surplus this year, you're at 2.933, and then what that accumulated surplus you see at the end of last year, 2022, that was 48 million. What that really is the accumulated capital asset of the town, what they're on the book for, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So we take last year's number and we add this year's surplus to it, and that puts us at 51,768,000 as the accumulated surplus. And so what that is, if we look on your the statement of financial position, so you can see at the bottom, there's that surplus number that we just saw. So if we just go down through some of these items real quick, the top section of this statement is the assets of the town, or sorry, the financial assets. These would be more your cash is included in there. The cash is at 4.7 million. Your receivables, so you pick your general receivables, so that would be water, sewer, recreation, anything of that nature would be in the 1.7. It would also include any outstanding government transfers for some of the capital projects. Because not all that money is always in right at December 31st. Some of it comes in after for what that's done before. It's that time. And then you've got your also the federal government, that would be HST, and then the province of New Brunswick. So those would be some of those trains would be included in those figures. So those financial assets, those total 8.923 million, and then your liabilities, that's the next section. So short-term financing, 3.28 million. So that would just be loans, short-term loans that are taken while projects are underway. And then some of those loans will get paid back when capital, some of the funding comes in, or when you apply for some venture. So that would be with the provincial government to replace that short-term financing. As you can see there, under your long-term debt, there's 5.8 million of debenture debt. So that would be your normal, what you would have for ongoing. And there's a note in the statements, student check, 60 grand, that goes from mistakes. So that kind of shows you what your debt, yeah. So this is the list of the debentures to the New Brunswick Municipal Financing Corporation. So these, and then over here kind of shows you the maturity date of those debentures and the interest rates. So they kind of range, so fairly low interest rates especially on the older ones. So you can see there, here's 5,826,000 of debentures. So the liabilities there, you can see your total liabilities, your 12,865,000. So that gets subtracted from those financial assets and shows you what your net debt is at 4.5 million. So that's not uncommon for municipalities, because these long-term debts, they get paid out over time. And then the non-financial assets, so that 55 million you see there, that would be all the capital assets. So that includes the streets and the roads, all of your buildings. We do have a note on that, which I can show you quickly. Yeah, so the statement of tangible capital assets. So the various assets that the town has. So you've got buildings, land, your vehicles are included in there, all your machinery, streets and roads. So that would also be included in that figure as well. So what we do is we determine what those cost base are. So whenever you are constructing new assets or buying assets, that value gets added to that top section, your cost base. And then when you sell assets or are no longer using assets, they are disposed off the bat. So you can see there was a disposal there. So this year, this line right here, this is your total capital assets that's added during the year, is about $5.2 million of capital. You can see at the end of the year, 3.3 million is still under construction. And that would have been, I believe it's sewer water work that's being done, some major work. And that also would be what a lot of those grants were for, cover off some of that. And then each year, we amortize. So the $2.1 million there, that is considered to be an expense. It's just recognizing that the assets are another year older. It's not a cash expense, so it's not actual, but it helps value, or at least determines what the value of those assets are. So the cost base of your total assets are 91 million, and your accumulated amortization today is 35 million. So the net book value, you can see that 55 million, that's what we saw on your balance sheet. And that's broken out between your general fund, 35 million of that, and then your utility fund is 20 million. And so when we go back here, you can see, so there's your 55 million. So when we look at that accumulated surplus, it really is, it's those assets that the town owns, that you don't have debt on at this point. It's the excess of the asset over the value of the liability. So it's not, as far as the surplus, it's not 55 million sitting in a bank account. It's $55 million worth of assets that the town has accumulated over the years. One other point too that we look at as part of the audit, we always look at the debt service for the municipality. So what that is, that's a calculation that we do, but basically it takes the amount of debt servicing payments. So that would be the principal payments that you're making as well as any interest. And then it's divided by the budget, or the total expenses in each of the funds. To kind of determine what percentage of your budget is going towards debt service. So in your general fund, that ratio this year was 5.14% of the general. Last year was 6%, so it's actually gone down a bit. In the utility fund, the debt service was 14.5%, and that was down. Last year was 15.85%. And sort of the guidelines that the province looks at with the looking at debt service in your general fund is that debt service ratio starting to creep up near 20%. That's kind of what they determine to be sort of getting a little bit worried that maybe there's too much debt. In the general fund, it's at 20%, so St. Stephen, you're at 5%, so you're well under. And in the utility fund, that cap or the guideline is 50%. So even at 14%, 14 and a half this year, you're well under the 50%, sort of like the province will look at in terms of the town getting a little bit too much overloaded in debt. So that's something that we always look at part of the audit. And the other things too that we do is we also look at just kind of the controls that are in place. So just to make sure that the expense and expenditure approvals. So we test, we don't look at everything. That would be very difficult to do and take a very long time. But on a test basis, we do look at things just to make sure that the approval process are going the way they're supposed to go. So we didn't find anything that would have caused us concern in that regard. Everything that we looked at was approved and it went the way it should be. So I think they're working the way they were supposed to. So I know that's a lot. Just if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to get those.
Nope. We're good here, Peter.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I will send down to Frank. I'm going to send him, so we'll send down the final version, get some signatures, and then we'll get those off to the province.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for your work on this. And of course, staff to get it to the point where he could do his work on this. So thank you, everyone.
All right, well, appreciate it. Thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
You too. Thanks, Peter.
Okay, take care.
Okay, so I had a mover and seconder on the presentation. There was no questions, obviously, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried to accept the presentation of the audit. Okay. All right. I'll take a mover and seconder I should have did it for all the delegations, but anyway, just a mover and seconder to move to the next delegation. Councilor Eastman? Second. Councilor Greenlaw? Okay, Joe Moffett, sir. The floor is yours. Leaseholder for the Oak Bay Campground regarding the tourism automation levy bylaw.
How y'all making out?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm gonna hand these out, you guys can shuffle them around yourselves. It's confidential, I don't want it going out over the airwaves. So I'm just handing you a couple of numbers, because I know how you guys all like numbers, and you all like everything just laid right out perfect. So I'm gonna do the best I can to try to explain some of this stuff, and be very nice about it all. So, as you all know, that I have a long-term lease at the Oak Bay Community, or I was going to say the Oak Bay Community Hall, sorry. Just another issue on the campground in Oak Bay. And we've had a 10-year lease at first, and we're into a second long-term lease. And I'm very grateful, and we've taken it from a closed business to what it is today. And then I'm battling things every day you wouldn't believe, but I guess that's life. So with this, you will see three numbers. Those are the past 3 seasons, 22, 23, and 24. You will see the caption overnight sales. And then you're going to see a 3.5 roughly proposed levy that you are entertaining. I realize they're still in the entertainment process. So I'm trying to give you guys some insight as to some of this. If you look at those numbers for the last 3 years, out of what I would have collected, and the way this overnight sales is broken down is we have a number of categories. We have monthly rents, weekly rents, daily rents, so on and so on, and seasonal rents. No.
Okay.
Just take the first number, 2022, and take the number across from it. That only reflects overnight stays under 30 days. Okay, same as the other 2 numbers. So we've taken them from our accounting and broke them out. This will give you an idea of what I will be paying you roughly if this levy is going through. But I don't know about all the other people. I don't know how many other organizations that do overnights. I do know of one I've called, and I know of a second one that I've called. One particular one, I'm not saying any of their names, however, was really upset over this, didn't know anything about this was going on. I explained to her the best that I could about what is being proposed. This person is already decided to add a levy on U.S. customers per night. And I don't agree with that, but that's not up to me. That's the way this person wants to run their particular business. I like to bring people to this community. As you all know, I grew up in Milltown, was born in Milltown, grew up in St. Stephen, went to every school in the country, sold ATVs. I've been here my whole life. I've been an advocate for this county. We've got 23 names up there that now are all amalgamated, and we all represent all these places. That's a lot of places. We start putting charges on people coming to our community to stay for a week, because I'll be honest with you, I get a lot of people that come for a week at a time because they have family. Now I've got to charge them, even though they used to live here. Now I got to charge them a levy. Don't agree. Last year we had people that would pay for 1 month. Their contract would be renewed to work they'd stay another month, and then so on and so forth. And now this levy is going to affect them. My concerns are that these increases are going to, it's not a lot, I understand that. Like if you had a $40 a night rate, you're talking $1.40 or something. I have invoices that are pre-printed from the St. Croix Printing Club for probably up to another 4 years or so. Now, according to the information that I'm receiving, is I'm going to have to take those, scrap them, start again. So in other words, I'm going to have my charge, say, we'll just say rough numbers, $35 for an overnight, provincial tax, your levy, tax, or accordingly. Then I have to collect it. I have to house it. I have to account for it. I have to bank it. Every quarter, I have to bring it into you. And then at the end of the year, I have to do more accounting work because this is on top of other things. It's a nightmare. So my property tax assessments for the last X years have gone up anywhere from $70,000 to $90,000 every year at the campground, and we have not expanded. We have not put up new buildings. We have not done anything. My insurance is absolutely astronomical, and I have to pay that. That's $20,000 to $30,000 a year. Hydro, I don't even want to go there. It's getting crazy. And now we want to do this. We're going backwards, not forward. I could understand if this was $100,000 a year that you might bring in, or $200,000, but you're not going to get those kind of numbers. These are accurate numbers that I'm giving you off of my accounting. This year has not been completed yet. Well, yes, that number will go in for this year. Okay? So if you look at this, and then if you just average, let's say Winsome Inn, let's average, say, $40 a night. Roughly, how many nights will they rent over a year? If you took the bed and breakfasts, there's 3 or 4 in the community. They pretty well shut down during the summer or the winter time, similar to me. You might take in $100,000 total, and if you average the 3.5%, you're going to get $3,500 out of that. That's what you guys would make. Is it worth it? I don't see it even being remotely, I wouldn't even be considering it for that kind of money. Hell, I'll give you the $3,500 to leave us all alone. You know what I mean? That's, to me, it's just, it's crazy. So last year, again, I'd have people that are moving to St. Stephen. So they've already done their processes. They've got their real estate done. They got everything else. They have no place to stay. They've lugged all their equipment, everything they own in the back of a car or whatever, and they got a little pop-up tent trailer, and they're staying with us for, let's say, 30 days. Their house doesn't get ready. They renew another 30 days. And I have to put a tourism levy on top of this. What are we telling that person? What are we telling people that, because every customer that comes to St. Stephen, when they come to my place, we promote this town. I want them to come here. Some ask to go to St. Andrews, and I do my best to be a tourism person for there too. But if I'm charging this and you want it broken out, if they start seeing this and then they say, well, what's this fee for? And I say, well, it's my community that's charging it. I can't do anything about it. What are we telling them? We're not telling them to come back to town. I teach the people who work for me that if they do a good job when the people cross that border and they stop at my place for the first night and they're going into the Maritimes, if I do the right job, then I will get them coming back through to go back across the border. So we work hard at it. And I'm very picky with my staff to say, make sure you do it. And you ask my wife, there's been a couple of times I've had arguments with her, because I want it done a certain way. I want them to come back. It's money in my pocket. So I made so many notes here. I was trying to think of everything that I could tell you, but I think I've pretty well told you a lot of it about, I don't, personally, I think it's absurd to try to charge another levy or another tax. They're not going to see it as a levy, they're going to see it as a tax. And we are taxed to death in all, not only here, but all across the country. Doesn't matter what it is. So on average, I don't like the idea. I think it's wrong. I really do. If anybody should be making any more money, it should be me, not you. You guys, and I don't mean this derogatory, I don't mean it bad anyways, but what have you done to promote the Oak Bay Campground? Nothing. What will you do? Nothing. I don't see it. I don't feel it. I am all for it. I've said it in one of the other meetings that when you guys have your little sessions like off in the evenings and whatever, and you want to talk tourism or something, give me a shout and I'll come in and we'll sit down and throw ideas on the table. I feel we're going the wrong way. And I was really looking at some of these numbers that this gentleman was giving on the thing there to find out, is $10,000 or $5,000 really going to make a change in a $5 million budget, or not even going to put a dent in it. It's going to be more of an embarrassment. One of the comments that I had heard was, well, St. Andrews does it. Well, what I would say to you guys as a council, whoever promotes St. Andrews, hire them here. Because what does St. Andrews really have? Little knick-knack stores, the Algonquin. How many of us have been to the Algonquin? We can't afford to go. We don't go. So whoever that person is promoting their little community, bring them here. Promote us. Pay them what they want. Do whatever. Promote our towns. Every one of those names on that thing have got something that tourism would love. You go down to Hills Point, look at the water. I realized I watched a session on TV the other night. You guys were talking about the dirty water. We can go on with that forever because that's been dirty forever. If I had the answers to that, I'd tell you, but I don't. I'm just a little guy working my tail off in a little business, and every year I'm gouged a little bit, and it takes away my heart, it takes away my pride, and it gets a little bit discouraging. And my wife and I went through these numbers, dug through our accountings, went through these numbers, and those overnight sales are only part of our business. The rest of it is really none of anybody's business. It's my own accounting business, but I wanted you to see those numbers because they're accurate, down to pennies. I mean, we didn't do pennies. But you will see that that's not very much to bring in on that particular item. And if all the other 5 or 6 are in the same boat that I'm in, you're gonna have an accounting nightmare in there. Just try to keep up to it. And I know this is funny and it's part of a joke. If you guys are going to be charging me, maybe I should be charging you guys for doing all the work for you to collect the money. You know what I mean? I know I can't do that, but maybe we could try it. I don't know. Anyways, I just want to present that to you. I hope it answers some of the questions from a person who lives it every day and sees it every day and works it every day. And the last 2 years, I've worked it on 2 knees that didn't work. And I was hobbling around bad. And this year I'm in the recovery stage because I just had them rebuilt and I'm already ready to hit the ground running and I can't do it yet. So all these extra things, they basically scare me. And I don't think we should be doing this stuff. I think we should be trying to find a way to bring them in. Instead of charging them more, maybe saying if you stay an extra night in our little community, we'll give you a discount or something. Or we'll try to help you out, or we'll... I don't know what the answers are, but we are right on one of the, well, I don't know what it's going to be like now, but we used to be one of the major borders. Look at Woodstock growing, Grand Falls is growing, Edmonton's growing. We're not. We're like a gateway to go through. And I can't advertise up on the highway because of rules. They're broken rules, but they're rules. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here, but I just wanted you to know that really should take some more thought to this. And I can sit down anytime with anybody and I can show you better numbers, or we can have an off-camera talk anytime. I'm game for anything. And any other project I don't mind helping out with. So thank you very much, folks.
Oh, thanks, Joe. no, this is why we bring these things forward and start these discussions like you're talking about. I mean, just for clarification, is the money is not taking the tax for us just to use for whatever. It's actually to be used for tourism. For, like, let's say you wanted to put on an event out there, you can request to use that money, right, for events and those such things, so we can entertain people. And it's not just a St. Andrews thing. We use their example to get us started. No, it's not since reinventing the wheel, but if you've been in any hotel anywhere, you're paying that levy. But I totally get what you're saying. That's why I didn't even want to start now with what we got. Our platform right now, it is harder to count what we're getting for the value. Like you're saying, like, I don't want to say these numbers, but like for a few $1,000s, it's not worth the accounting. I totally get that. That was one of the things I said, do we even start now? But I wanted to start so when we do get to the point that we do have more, then we can start doing more things that would help keep people here. So they're not going to other places around us and passing through, as you said. You know, that's what it's about. It's not. And it's not a tax. It's not out of the norm. It's like most. But yours is a little different though, because a lot of your clients, I'll call them, that use your campground probably are local Charlotte County residents too, right? So they're not coming from away, so to speak. So that is on my mind now. I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
Well, you're only talking of the 30 days or under, or 31 days or under, which, like if somebody's coming here to work, if you have on your budget, you have a contract to do road paving. Well, some of them bring their campers with them, and they need a place to stay, so they stay with us. Or they might stay with the other 2 or 3 other groups, which is fine. But those 2 or 3 other groups, they're not going to have a levy because they're outside of your municipality now. I'm going to have a levy. So what are they going to say to me? I'm going down the road. So then we lose them from the community as a whole. Because the other campgrounds are decent, and I got no problem with them, and then we all work together and stuff, and we actually call if we're full, and so on and so on. I just want to make sure we can try to keep them into town. And I do promote this little community, something awful. Like, it's crazy. And we try. So I can't tell you what I want to do, but there's another project that I'm working towards. And if we make that work, then our community will bone even better. I just don't know if I want to put the legwork in it. We worked on it all winter while I was laid up, but I was just, yeah. This is what happens when you're married.
You are alive, by the way. Councilor Greenlaw?
No, I just wondered if you wanted these back, or if it's all right for us to hang on to these. Just don't. Okay.
Public knowledge, that's all. And if it does go out to public, it's not going to hurt my feelings any, because it's only a section of our financials. So we have many different categories. So.
And again, this is why we bring it forward. So these concerns come to us, so we learn from what you have to say. And like I said, I did grab a few of the details that I didn't think of. That I do see what you're saying. So we'll have to take that into account and keep pushing down the road. And call us anytime, Joe. Any one of us. Thanks, Joe. Okay. Next up, I'll need to take a mover and seconder to move into the Chief Administrative Officer's report.
Moved.
Councilor Wright? Second. Councilor Cornish? Jeff?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think the written report covers most of the ground there. We'll get some contact with Canada First Basketball's folks recently, and I think we're closing in on getting the paperwork ready for it to deal with the transfer, and getting them off and running and off of our books, which is what has been the long-term goal for quite a while. So I think I was very glad to hear that. Did want to highlight some of the stuff under the procurement section there. The big one being that our HRIS system, or our human resources system and payroll system, we're starting to get proposals rolling in on that RFP. So we're looking forward to being able to evaluate those. As the report says, in one of the other ones I was working on of late is to try and bring in some expertise or some contracted expertise around real estate. Mr. Henderson and I have been working away at Council's strategic goal of divesting of surplus properties that we don't need to be holding. We identified some low-hanging fruit that are marketable. So I wanted to go through a process to find some expertise to help us with that. So you'll be seeing that shortly, as far as being able to put that out. A couple other ones coming up: audit services and banking services. Mr. Godso and I are working away on those things amongst a myriad of other things that we're working on inside the corporate services division right now. But our banking services haven't been tendered out in a very, very, very long time. And it is good to do it on a routine basis, just like everything else, to make sure you're getting best quality for your dollar. So we will be looking at that down the road. But a few things going on there. And as the report says, I was privileged enough to be able to join at least part of the Sustainable Communities Conference in Fredericton. Got a chance to talk to some of the FCM folks that put on that event. Wanted to make sure that they fully understood how appreciative we were, and I think New Brunswick was, that conference finally left the city of Ottawa. It's historically stayed in Ottawa, and in talking to them, they really found that the participation, they got far more small rural communities attending, having moved it. I think it'll probably be much like their annual conference now, and may travel around the country a little bit to be able to be more accessible to small communities, because we know we don't have the same travel and training budgets as some of the big places, and the big places will just send people wherever they need to go. So, but a lot of great sessions. I know Councillor Greenlaw and Deputy Mayor Wheaton were there. Unfortunately, I think all of our time was cut a little short based on weather that was barreling down on us before the last day. But I think they were making some of the sessions available by video as well, so we can get caught up on anything we missed. But so with that, I don't think I have much else to report on unless there's questions.
Okay. Any questions, council? All right. I had a mover. I had a seconder for the report. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Okay. Next up is public comment period. I see a hand back there. Side Bob. Hi there.
Hi. I wasn't sure when I could talk, so my name is Susan Thomas, and my husband and I have owned and operated Casa Breeze Bed and Breakfast in Oak Bay. We're entering our 13th year now. We have 4 bedrooms that we rent, and we have been tourism ambassadors for Charlotte County all this time. We send people all over the place, and we promote the local shops that have disappeared on me. But what happens is, because we have a 2-night minimum, our guests will go to Roosevelt Cottage, they'll go to Minister's Island, they'll go to the Quaddy Loop, they'll climb Shamcook Mountain or hike up Simpson Mountain, they'll see the lighthouses, they'll go to Ganong Park and the various parks. They go all over, and then when they come back, because they're 2-night minimum, we tend to have a leisurely breakfast, and they share their adventures with the new guests, and the cycle continues. So we have been ambassadors for tourism for this year, for this area, for the 13 years that we have been in business. I concur with what Joe Moffat says in that I'm not particularly impressed with this tax. However, my big issue right now is timing. The country to the south of us is rattling its sabers and threatening tariffs that will impact on the Canadian economy, on the jobs of Canadian and on the quality of our dollar. If we in turn, like, okay, get ahead of myself here, there has been, as a result of this threat, a great Canadian movement. And the momentum is picking up, and we have a lot of Canadians buying local, shopping Canadian, that type of thing. And a lot are choosing not to go south for their holidays. They're going to holiday in Canada. Now, with the threats that are facing them, their budgets are going to be tight. And if we add another tax onto it, that doesn't seem fair to our Canadian customers. Now, our customers are pretty well a third, a third, a third. A third Canadian, a third international, and a third American. And with the Canadian dollar and the Canadians facing hardships, adding another 3.5% onto the 15%, I call it a tax too, it's not really 18.5%. Because you're taxing on a tax. So it's more. So I think our timing is poor. And I would like to see this idea just disappear. We do a lot of tourism ambassadorship for you. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, David Whittingham. I live in Ward 2 in town. Just a couple of comments. The first one's regarding the special council meeting that was held on February the 6th, I believe it was, regarding the allocation discussion, allocation and voting on the community grants, where around $53,000 was allocated to different organizations in the community, in the whole district. But that meeting wasn't broadcast to residents. The council, I assume, chose not to that night. If there was a snowstorm, that evening, I chose not to come to council. I come most times. But if I'd known in advance that you'd chosen not to request CHCO-TV to broadcast it, it seems important to me that, especially when you're choosing to spend taxpayers' money, residents' money, that it should be open to the public. And there wasn't much notice in advance of, where the money, who the money is going to be sent to, type of thing. It's in the minutes here of the allocations. One comment from the allocations on there, the specific amounts for different organizations, where it's $2,000, $5,000. The Chocolate Museum, it mentions paying the insurance, but there's no figure given to that. And there's a couple other cases where it's in kind, and I'm not sure the amounts are specified there. That's my comments. So if in the future, if you're not planning on broadcasting a council meeting, can you put that on the Facebook or whatever, or do it on your alertable? So the option is there for residents to come down and be in person at that council meeting.
Let's make a quick comment there. So we had a meeting. It's public, as you know, but like you're saying, you didn't think it was. You thought it was going to be recorded so you could catch it. But also the what do you call it? CHCO, who does they were in St. George, I believe, that same evening, so they weren't available for that schedule, to meet that schedule. But again, it was public. So you're saying like we'd give it the 48 hours, like we're obligated to do, and just. I don't want to abuse our alertable app neither, because I want that to do its job that we need it to do. I don't think that's alertable caliber, but I don't want to do the cry wolf thing and then drown out all the important stuff that needs to get out in that alertable that we struggle with. But anyway, no, it is noted that
communication channels to use also, whether it's your Facebook page.
Agenda goes out on Facebook. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Dave.
To residents, texting to them, anyway, let's comment on that. And I think there have been occasions when the TV station has been at 2 different locations in the past, but we can check with those. The next comment is regarding the tourism levy. Having been in the tourism industry since 1987, 3 different properties, I have some thoughts on that, but I'm not going to mention them here. I'm going to formally request to be at the next council meeting to give an alternative perspective to the tourism levy. Just a brief thing, I'm in support of it, but it requires a little more presentation on that I'm willing to do right now, having heard the other perspectives. In the building inspector's report, it mentions there's 7 open files to do with the dangerous and unsightly premises. What does it take to get rid of a whole bunch of garbage from a property? I'm talking about 18 Mark Street, the Starshine property. There's residents and the business owners around there talk about rats and stuff. The garbage is pulled apart. The building's being trashed. What does it take to get that site cleaned up for residents to live right by it and also businesses that are around there? And now we have people having trashed that building going to the next one's 18 George Street. So, and one last, we just saw the presentation on the 2023 financials for the municipal district. Do we have an idea of when the 2024 will be completed? Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay.
So I'm Bernadette Cunningham. I saw in the agenda there's talk about incentivizing things for the downtown core and for housing. I bought the dilapidated, falling apart building attached to me because I had the garbage, I had the criminal activity, I had all of it. So now I've got that I need to deal with, and I have to figure out how I'm going to deal with it. So my 2 options are tear it down, plant a tree, or fix it up. And I see in the agenda that there's incentives and there's all kinds of whatever. So if those incentives are real and they actually apply to some downtown businesses, downtown housing, then I would love somebody to reach out and show that they're real, because we talk about them, and I would be a prime opportunity for those to kind of come through and see if they exist. So thanks.
Yeah, just Future St. Stephen could help you with that and guide you through that. Yep.
Okay. Next up, I'd like to have a mover and seconder to move into the departmental information reports be acknowledged and received.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. Second, Councillor Eastman. And woke me right up there, Mark. All right. So with the mover and seconder, we'll step into the Deputy CAO report. No, I already.
Thank you, Your Worship. All right, let's start with fire. Fire, we had 30 calls for the period of January 22nd to February 19th, so that's pretty much a full month. So that would be a typical number now for that length of time. Nothing in there spectacular. Just I will say there was 13 motor vehicle accidents, so that's a big number, but there was some weather events in there that contributed to that for sure. So I don't have a whole lot more on fire. Public Works, lots of stuff going on in Public Works, despite it being a relatively short list this month. That's not really an indication of the amount of work that's going on. The storm event that Jeff spoke about earlier, we're still cleaning up snow from that and working on. A lot of the ice is starting to go now, which is helpful, but there's still a lot of snow around that every day, whatever equipment's not working on a water break or something else is being deployed to clean that up. So I appreciate the patience of the community in that regard. I know the early days were frustrating. The snow banks were high and there was ice everywhere. We'd sand it, and 10 minutes later the sand's gone down through, and there were people thinking we hadn't even been there when we'd been there several times. So appreciate the patience, and it's not a typical storm. 10 years ago it was a typical storm, but we kind of gotten spoiled in the last with our weather. Yeah, it was. It went as soon as it switched over to rain. Everything just immediately froze because the temperatures were still like -5 or -7 when it turned to rain, and it just froze instantly. So it was a tough one. Also, significant work going on out at Maxwell Crossing with some issues we had there that led to the boil water that we were able to get out of last week, and hopefully we can stay out of moving forward. Building inspection, it's this time of year, there's not a whole lot going on. There are, as one of the members of the gallery mentioned, 7 files under dangerous and unsightly that are being worked on. I apologize, the bylaw enforcement report come in, and just before he went away for vacation, and he sent me the month before numbers, and I had them all in there, and I got looking at them, and I realized that it was a bad report, so I removed it. So next month I'll double up, and you'll get 2 months worth out of them next month. Those are the highlights I have. If anybody had any questions on anything, I entertain those.
Oh, we do. Councillor Rodas.
Would you mind, Sean, just explaining the mechanical failure at Maxwell Crossing in layman's terms for the general public? It doesn't have to be a long segment, but just so we have an understanding of what we can expect in the future.
Well, simply we had a pump that failed. There was a number of factors that led to it failing. We took it apart. There were some indicators that there was some things going on. When we got it apart, I put a camera down a line and found that the line that should have been this big around had become this big around, which in part led to the pump failure. So as a result, we had to replace the pump and the line. It's a vacuum-based system. Archaic. There are a lot of those systems around, but anybody that knows anything about wells, it's not. I'd like to make some changes maybe someday. But anyways, I'm getting off track. So we put everything all back together, and we had a vacuum leak. Vacuum leaks are a little bit different than a pressure leak. A pressure leak, it just pushes water out, and if it's not too much, we carry on. With a vacuum leak, you can't build any pressure. We were unable to move water. So we spent an extensive amount of time trying to find that and get it going. And it's only today that I can say, fingers crossed, it looks like we've solved that problem. That problem didn't directly cause the boil water, but when we got the pump back online last week after it was repaired and we put the new lines in, we got it running temporarily. The pump has been rebuilt, the line was cleared, there was more water moving than what had been moving in the past, stirred up a whole bunch of stuff in the system. That caused the boil order. So today, when we started back up, we were all, doing everything we could to make sure we didn't stir things up to put us into another boil order. So far, so good. But we'll just have patience. Hopefully that system's going to hold together, but that's one pump. There's another pump that is most likely in the same state. We're going to have to look down the road at replacing some of this equipment that is old.
I just want to add a little simple version. If you're ever used a straw and you're taking a drink, if it has a hole in your straw, the same, that's very similar to what's going on. But anyway, so go ahead, Council. Did you have a follow up? Yeah.
I'm just curious because I don't know what this equipment costs. So, and I think it's good to talk about costs because I hear a lot of conflicting things from the public sometimes. Sometimes we want lower taxes, but we also want all of the issues fixed, even issues that don't even fall under our mandate but still affect our community, like recruiting family doctors, for example. So I like to talk about costs because just the same way the general public feels overwhelmed, I often feel overwhelmed as a counselor at this table because I don't know where the money is going to come from. I also live in this community, but it's just challenging to even think about where this money is going to come from if something did quit on us tomorrow. And I do feel like these times are trying economically for everyone, even municipalities. So if you can allude to just the cost of, let's just say both of those pumps went tomorrow, what would our municipality be looking at? And would we...
First part, I don't have a total number on what we've done to get things back up and going, but I would suspect, if we were to modernize both of those pumps and the system around it, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars for sure to do that.
I just did, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so as Councilor Rose was talking about taxes, it's not taxes, it's utility. There's two separate budgets we have, and they're regulated by law to keep separate. So, Councilor Eastman?
Yeah, Sean, on these 7 open files for the dangerous and unsightly premises and what Mr. Whittingham has pointed out, can we not interject the provincial government on the health and safety on that 18 Mark Street? I went by it today and I crap you not, it's way over, garbage is everywhere.
There are other agencies involved in that file. I guess that's what I can say. I'm hoping you'll see some progress there soon. In fact, I was hoping we were going to see some progress a while ago. But there are other agencies involved in that trump me, I guess. I'll leave it at that.
And let's not spoil the process. Hopefully it happens. It's already slow enough. If we can spoil it by over talking about it, we can get ourselves in trouble. Councilor Wright?
Thank you. Sean, just for the record, I see in your report, but again, it might bear repeating vocally for those online listening in the room. The snow removal is sometimes impeded by citizens. Can you just explain how important that is?
Yes, just like the town, everybody had to deal with the snow. And unfortunately, some people's options to deliver the snow is to make it our problem by putting it in the right-of-way, pushing it across a road, onto somebody else's property, leaving it on the sidewalks. Small storms, it doesn't really impede us a lot, but on that storm, it certainly did, because a lot of that got pushed out before that fast freeze. And now the little sidewalk tractors that come along to clear the sidewalk couldn't do anything with it. So we had to wait for the big tractors to come along. And then they were slowed down. So everything, was slowed down, and it's not a fine that we put out very often. We have. It's not unheard of. We don't like to do it, but we would certainly appreciate if people kind of keep their snow on their property as much as they can and do their best not to hold up town crews by putting it in bad spots.
Just hang on. Councilor Heisler? I got you, though. Just hang on.
Just more like a comment, Sean. Yeah, the water and sewer. Oh. That wasn't you? Got cut off. Well, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, the water and sewer, just wanted to thank you and the crew for the work. I know that there's somebody there almost every night or overnight, wasn't there, operating manually the pumps and trying to find a leak, and it's like a needle in a haystack when it's we know how the frost has gone in the ground. And the magnitude of like the cost of these things, it just, boggles my mind too. I mean, we're coming up to a new lift pump on King Street that's, almost $1 million. And people don't complain until they can't flush their toilet, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but to go and replace these things, and I know there's a lifespan for pipes and pumps and everything else, but we replace those every 5 years when they're, when they say that the manufacturer recommends 5 years, it'd be enormous, the amount of money we'd be paying for water and sewer. But I'd just like to thank you, on the job that you guys did for that, and it's those assets that he talks about there, the $52 million. It's not the town's assets; it's everybody sitting in this room and everybody that lives in this community. So there are assets, and when we pay taxes or we pay services for water and sewer, I see comments like they're going to charge us more because we did this. I mean, we budget that, we have a certain amount, but we don't have the reserves that we probably should have because we don't charge to get those reserves. So that's why we keep it as low as we can. So it just frustrates me when they because we do spend a lot of money, and you rigged the King Street lift station. You guys have been doing a great job just keeping that going. So to save the taxpayers or save the utility owners money. So, I just have to commend you on that because it is important.
Well, thank you, Councillor. And I want to clarify, it wasn't one single issue either. A dozen times I thought, we've got it, and we didn't have it. And we're still having issues. The SCADA system, which is our computer, that brain that runs everything and sends alarms to my phone when things are going wrong, almost everything, that is dying. And so that was sending us bad information, and so we had a tech running around like the old operator pulling the wire out of this one and putting it in this one to try and make it work, and like literally bubble gum holding her together. And so I've got a new SCADA system that's on order, that's coming next week, and I mean that's tens of thousands of dollars to fix that. And we did, because that was failing. We had to have somebody there 24 hours a day. So we had people working 7 days a week to be there to make sure something else didn't blow up and go to pieces. So it really was an exercise, I will say. And to top things off, the day we went out to break ground, it was minus 25 Celsius. We had 4 feet of frost that we had to go through. We had an excavator there for 2 days breaking the frost so I could find the pipe that I was dealing with, and then put guys in the ground. And so I'm sure they'll appreciate your thank you and your comments. But it wasn't just a single problem. It's a cascading event of old equipment that's tired.
Yes, and just before Brian jumps on, I did offer to pull off a couple night shifts, but they I'm serious, I did. But anyway, go ahead, Brian, or Councillor.
That's okay. Yes, yeah. Sean, I'm not trying to belabor the point, as Alan said, or Mayor said a few minutes ago, but the nuisance fire, can I guess what that one was? Okay. Okay. Basically, I think the nuisance fire was basically at 18 Mark Street with some fireworks displays. I got several calls because I have a lot of people or friends that live right surrounding that. And I did get a hold of the fire chief just as soon as I got the calls. And I just happened to run into a couple of the RCMP officers that's involved in this. I'm not trying to apologize to the public because I'm starting to understand the complexity and what we can't talk about and what we can talk about. And Sean gave it to me. I gave those residents the same thing as you told them. I feel very, very upset about it, but I just want to assure you, just as a counselor and dealing with people that I know very well around that, is that I guess I just wrote down here, it's the law process and the enforcement. And we've been through a lot of these, but this one here, they're scared to death something's going to be a fire, and it very well could be. We've seen that quite a bit in the last couple of years. But I just want to assure that it has been talked about, looked about, but there's a lot of secrecy behind this, and I won't discuss it any more than Sean did, okay? All right, that's all, Al. Or Mayor, sorry.
Yes, sure can. Deputy Mayor?
During the boil order, I did get quite a few phone calls from people that were concerned because the boiled order was not communicated to them. Like, I went over the ways that we had communicated. But a lot of our seniors do not use the internet. They don't have a cell phone. But anyway, I found out that you can have the alertable put on a regular landline, which I put on mine, and it worked very well, and I helped people do that. And they were very thankful. But I'm wondering, maybe when we give out our water bills, that we put a notice in there on how they can receive that communication or what's available for them. Would that be possible? I mean, I know that that would just include Ward 2, but somehow we could alert the other
Related to water, but anything though.
Well, anything, because I said anything that comes up, because it did work well on my phone. I would get a message on my phone, right?
So just follow up on the alertable. When we first brought this into to use for the municipality, I mean, we did talk about that. I mean, we want you to use the internet version, because the phone version does cost us, the taxpayers, more money, because there's only so much use for phone calls. But by all means, if we need to use it, we'll absorb that cost. But if you have the option with a smartphone or a computer to get those alerts, please do so, and instead of waiting for a phone call. But the phone call option is there, and I believe we did put it in the water bill, but I think we got to really emphasize the phone call part, maybe. But maybe you could have some more. We've talked a lot about this, Jeff.
Yeah, sure. We have put it on the flyer in the water bills before. We can do it again. Nothing wrong with doing another round of public relations. Obviously, people are interested because of the recent events. So I've talked to Mr. Sumner and Ms. Vest, because they tend to coordinate some of our information distribution stuff. So we are looking at doing that again. And it is, I don't know if it still is, it was a banner on the website as well right at the top if anybody wanted to see it. So we are pushing it. We do also be on the phone lines whenever we issue an alert. All the local media all get a direct contact from us. And I know I heard the last alert while I was driving this afternoon about the precautionary because of the work we were doing. So the radio stations are picking it up and they are playing it. So we are trying to push it out, but certainly, we're going to look at another public relations, public information campaign around it, because it is a good tool and we are using it. And so the more people we get on it, the better off, the better the information gets out.
And I'll add to that, it grows every time we have an event. I think we're up to, 5,600 users now? Anyway, so every time something happens, it gets more attention. Did you still have something, or did it get Councilor Otis?
Yeah, and I'm happy. I feel like, Deputy Mayor, you and I could also just, if we wanted to find an evening just for a couple hours to offer like an open house where people come in and we help them sign up. I mean, we've talked about doing that with the Maple app as well. So I think that could be a simple solution. Like maybe we meet with the seniors group, but anyone else who wants to come and sign up. There's a lot to it, but it's important too. The other thing I was going to say is landlords. There was a couple seniors buildings where the landlords weren't aware and then didn't notify their tenants. So I'm wondering that too, if we have a landlord list, as well as the media, like as a direct communication, because that was a tough thing. I talked to some seniors in a couple buildings that went like 3, 4, 5 days without being notified. So I don't know. That's kind of tricky, but whatever we can do to support and help. I'm happy to see the alertable numbers are growing though. And I do hear a lot more people that are using it. And share the message with your neighbors. Be good neighbors. Go knock on that senior lady's door or put a sticky note. I mean, all those things help. We've lost that since COVID a little bit, but just check on your neighbors and make sure that at least 5 houses around and little things like that can definitely help.
Mr. Mayor? I just want to catch on. Yeah, you can, but I just want to add on to that. Even if you're in an apartment, you can still get the alert, and don't count on your landlord to tell you. Like, just
nothing against anything, but just you can still get the alert. You don't even have to own the property. You can get the alert. You can be on the other side of the world and get the alert here in St. Stephen. Okay, Brian or Councillor Cornish.
Mr. Mayor, this sounds like probably total stupid to say this, but I was approached by some not elderly people, but senior people, we might say. And coming from the telecommunications business, this is probably the lowest thing I could think of on the pipe of communications. But involved in several tornado attacks when I had a real job, sirens went off and you got scared. This one here is almost secret because it's a poison literally just coming through the pipes. And the person said, where did the old speakers go? He had a vehicle truck going around and just round through the streets, just saying, basically, we got a problem. Now, I can laugh, but I was approached several times. Yeah, you can laugh at it, but there were several people that brought that up because they did not know there was a water pressure, and it went on for quite a while.
We'll get you a megaphone.
What's that?
We'll get you a megaphone in the back of the
Yeah,
truck.
that's what I have to do. Yellow vehicle might help. Anyway, that's all I had to say. There are some other means of communication.
But you know me, I'm going to make another comment. I still want to focus back to the alertable because times have changed. That is a better system than going around the car, hollering at people. But by all means, they will do whatever. But we, there is that option. That alertable gets you. Like that's hollering at you, right to your phone. Yep. Sorry, yeah.
Just to your point, your comment on the live call, landline call, text messaging. Just looking at the stats that Mr. Sumner pulled up beside me. If people are interested in that service and require that service, please sign up for it. We have lots of room before we hit our next level of payment on that. So if that is how you communicate, if that's how your parents communicate, grandparents, sign them up. Don't worry about the costing because we got lots of room in our before we hit a threshold. So, please don't shy away from that service.
Again, and like Emily just said, tell your neighbors. Tell them about the Alertable app, too. Not just that there's something going on. Tell them about the app. All right. Did you have any more besides water? Yeah. All right. We'll give you a break there, Sean. We'll go off to Alex, Southwest New Brunswick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be quick here. So we finished drafting the bylaw for the municipal plan. The next step here is the public consultation, and we've put a request for decision on setting a date for a public presentation of the bylaw. So this municipal plan was based on public consultation primarily in 2024, but public feedback is not finished yet. So the public presentation is the first legally required step to introduce the plan in its full draft form. So that's available in tonight's agenda for people to review. And there's a What We Heard report that came with it as well to kind of get a sense of where these directions, where some of these policies would have emerged from, and gives the analysis and the sort of the thought process behind it. So yeah, it's a process that really begins once council decides to set that date for a public presentation of the bylaw. In terms of development, there's just been a few permits year to date, so this time of year tends to be quite slow. So 6 building permits, value around $500,000 in construction value. 3 new homes or dwelling units permitted year to date, and a couple building lots, 2 building lots, and several other types of planning approvals. So that's it for my report.
Thank you, Alex. Any questions, Council? Okay, Community Service Report. Kev.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wanted to comment about the various things going on in the Parks and Community Services Department. We've been preparing for the spring and summer, getting ready for grants, getting in touch with seasonal staff, making sure they come back, students that are returning. As I said, applying for grants that are always helpful for us. We've been successful in the past. So, busy time
inside the GCC as well, preparing for, in March we've got the Day of Champions coming. Busy with the pool, as you can see in Aaron's report. Very successful in his grants. He's been doing a great job. Again, supplementing the budget that we have, and working towards the Milltown pool again. We've been working with Canoe, just getting some information, and other communities around the country who've done tenders, and we're getting those out in the next month or so. So going well there. I'll keep council up to date on those as we go. The other capital projects as well, the tennis courts tender, that's in the process. The Rotary Field and aligning the fencing just to help with the parking out there. I actually met a contractor out there today and measuring up and getting an idea. So keeping busy with those. A lot of capital projects, including cameras, adding some cameras into the GCC. We have had a few additional issues with vandalism. We had some on Tuesday night, just a couple of, Monday night. We're trying to identify the individuals and work with them, and yeah, it's an ongoing process. So the last thing I put in my section of the report is that we did meet with the volunteers at the Oak Bay Community Hall in the last few weeks. We want to appreciate the work that they have done managing the hall for the last 2 years while it's been owned by MDSS, and in the previous years that have gone on, they've done a great job. They've looked after it. They don't want any kind of praise or celebration, which, you know, quite happy to do, but we wanted to recognize what they've done, and yeah, if there are any questions, I'll gladly take them.
Go ahead, Councillor Heislip.
Just on, probably on Jeremy's point with facility maintenance, the sign out here, set. I noticed you used to put the boil water on that too. I don't know if it was on that this time, because it's still saying 14 degrees out there. It has been for quite a while. I know we've had issues with it ever since it was put up before the plaza was done there. So.
Yes, correct. It's since it got dinged by that excavator, it hasn't worked, and we are working with the installation groups out of Queen's Pamsis, but the manufacturers in Toronto, and we're in dialogue just to try and get them out there, because it seems that it's a unique problem and they haven't encountered it before, and we're just nailing down a date to get them down here. Do apologise. It's one side should mirror the other side. The side that does work is the one that is on this side, but it still doesn't help the situation. But we are trying to get the boots on the ground here, because we could hit it with a hammer and it might do some better work. So, but we don't want to do that.
And it wasn't just ticked. It got hit pretty hard with that excavator. Councillor Otis?
Okay, I got some more requests on the walking track in the morning, just with all the frost and the snow, and yeah. So I'm wondering if we could just consider that. I know you've said you've had a hard time staffing in the morning, but maybe there's even like a volunteer who would agree to, if there was a walking group, you know, at 6 a.m. that somebody agrees to kind of facilitate that, just because I do feel like for a lot of people it is really challenging if you're still working or you're an early riser and you want to get out before work. It is hard. And so, I mean, the other thing is the trail. Like, I do think at some point maybe we should consider making the trail more accessible year round, but we need to offer that space, I think, if people are requesting it. I just don't know how we can do that. But if we're having us maybe hiring summer students, maybe we can have a student work an earlier shift or something to just facilitate entry. And I'm wondering what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss it, whether it's with community services or as SMT. We can see we do have the numbers when we did this did show that there wasn't a great deal of use. It was you can count on two hands how many people we had in a month. The summer months, obviously, the trail shouldn't have snow on it. We hope it doesn't have snow on it. But yeah, we're quieter in the summertime, and we could look at utilising more summer students in here. We can see if any numbers, if we get any other requests. We haven't had any from the public so far. Sure, yeah, please do.
And I'm guessing it's probably the icy walkways and stuff. This
Winter, so.
Okay. Thanks, Kev. Well, community services, I'd like to, I don't know, just doing a little advertising here for the rink. Just let people know to check their websites there, because there's some good hockey going on in here. The Day of Champions is a great thing to go to, as Kev mentioned just now. But Vito's are playing here Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Great hockey, great local talent that's on those teams. It's fun to watch. It's really fun. And it's good to see those teams coming here to play in a rink, because I think they came and get some good audiences, so they're going to keep wanting to come back. And I mean, there's 10 to 14 local Charlotte County kids, I believe, if I get those numbers right, playing in those leagues. And I don't know if anyone saw I'm going to get this wrong, but they were just little. And the Rangers and whatever, and they're from St. John as well. And it didn't look like they should be able to pass the way they're passing. It's really good hockey, folks. So it's good entertainment, and it's good to get people to enter downtown. So take a look at those sites and try to get the word out, as if anything else, let people know there's some hockey going on in town and something to see. Treasurer. Frank.
Okay. The Assistant Treasurer's report is in front of you. I'll just sort of go through it briefly. The report itself actually goes till the end of January, but I kind of just want to move past that a little bit in the discussion. So accounts receivable, we're working on various elements to try to speed up in terms of how that gets processed and how it gets billed. So that's ongoing. Property sale turnover, I don't think a lot of people probably understand that, but essentially every time a property is sold, the lawyers contact us and we have to deal with that transfer, and it involves partially us signing off on the fact that this is how much is owed in that property before it gets sold. And it's not as bad now, but I know that back a few years ago when we were dealing with with COVID, that was a big file. I mean, that was really, really busy. So it comes and goes, but right now, we looked at last month, there were 7 of them done. It still takes time. Accounts payable, so it shows 216 payments right now. We're going through a process to try to, I think you'll see that actually increase in the short term. Going through a process trying to get things caught up on that. And I know that Nikki and some others are working on that, and we thank them for what they're doing there. Our accounts payable person is out at the moment. Payroll processing, so it's showing 189 payroll entries, and as Kev mentioned, we'll be coming very shortly into our student staff coming on. Our payroll will actually, in terms of numbers, will go from I think around 70 to up to around 100 staff that we're paying every 2 weeks. So that really does increase, and it also involves the time that it takes to go through that process. We actually, as the CAO has mentioned, we have our payroll and human resource tender out, RFP out right now, and that should speed up and help that process quite a bit. In the meantime, we work through it. And again, that it takes up quite a bit of staff time when it's done. Tonight we presented, the auditors presented the 2023. I know it was requested for information regarding the 2024 financials. That information is actually in this report. It does state in here that we are currently working on the 2024 and 2025. But in terms of finishing off the 2024, that has been an ongoing, even before the 23 was finished, that's been an ongoing file. We're working diligently to complete that. 23 was our challenge year, as anyone can imagine. 24, we're actually working to try to be very reasonable in terms of the timing and the release of that. Our auditors have indicated that because of the fact that we are so much earlier this year with it, or plan to be so much earlier with it, that they probably won't be able to start to look at this until the end of March, which will put us a little bit further ahead than what we'd like, but still very reasonable in terms of where we should be, and we're be honest with you, most municipalities will be, because there are two deadlines. There's the provincial deadline and the reasonable one, and most municipalities work off the reasonable one. So if we can get this within a month or so of the provincial one, then we should be in good footing with all around, and that's what we're planning for. So right now, we're gearing for the information to be with the auditors by here it says the end of February, early March, but certainly before they're ready for us anyway. And we're looking probably early May in terms of a release for that, and that's what we're gearing for. So I think we'll find that will certainly help all around. It certainly helps when we get to budget time, and it's certainly going to help with our day-to-day work, because it's one less thing we have to deal with when we're trying to get everything else done. I want to take just a minute to thank the work that's being done by my staff, and especially the corporate services manager and my assistant Nikki Mott, and also the work that's being done and the excellent assistance that I'm receiving from both from the CEO's office, from both Jeff and Celeste, because without their assistance, this would be very difficult. And they've been excellent in terms of trying to help us work through this, and we certainly do appreciate it. So that's my report. If there's any, there aren't any statements here this month because we're dealing with December, and the December statements will come with the audit, but we'll look at where we're going with that in the future. And the check register, as normal, is there. If there's any questions, I'll entertain it.
Thank you so much, Frank, and your team and your team. All of you, thank you. Okay. There's no questions. Treasury report. We'll go on to future St. Stephen Economic Development report. Genevieve.
Hello, back again. So the best news, we are making really good headway on our hiring efforts for our president's role. I can't say more than that, but I expect maybe there'll be someone with me for the next meeting. So we've had some amazing candidates. I want to take a minute tonight and really just thank the board, especially our new members that have joined on, but everyone. I think it's easy to forget that Future St. Stephen is a volunteer board. So these are business professionals, people working in the community who care about economic development, or taking time out of their work days to push forward the files. Just because we haven't had a president, full-time position in that role, we had our interim side. Just in the last few months, there's been board members who have stepped up and are continuing to push forward, housing and hotel and all of those different files. So the good news is when we have someone within that role, there's places for them to jump in and to take forward. We've been meeting with our partners, RSC with Charlene, just to make sure, again, that we're aligning, we're not duplicating efforts. The Chamber, downtown St. Stephen, again, they've been great with, again, aligning, not duplicating efforts, and really just understanding where they stand right now for what's going to help the businesses they represent within economic development within the community. We're looking forward to the municipal planning side of it. That will be a big piece that the president's role obviously will hop into to align our strategic goals. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to our board members for the work. When you don't have that full-time position, everybody has to pick up the slack, and that's definitely been handled. We had 3 people within our hiring committee who took a lot of time kind of through this process, and we're continuing through that. But yes, I expect soon we will have that president's role filled.
Thank you, Genevieve. And yes, it is good news to get that back on track, and I'm looking forward to being able to make that phone call and handing that off. And I still be part of it, but it's just going to be nice to have a support team. It's going to be good, including the board. All right, thank you. And thank you for stepping up yourself, too. Yeah, I almost forgot that. Yeah, no, it's duly noted, but thank you. All right.
we have come to the end of the departmental reports. I had a mover, I had a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Okay. Everyone's favorite topic, bylaws. Let's take a mover and seconder for the third and final reading of the bylaw 03-23-1A, bylaw to amend bylaw 03-23, a bylaw respecting the remuneration of the council for Municipal District of St. Stephen. Mover? I think I heard Councillor Harding, maybe? Councillor Harding? And Councillor Greenlaw for seconding. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried for the third and final reading. And guess what? I got to read it twice. Okay, a mover and seconder for bylaw 03-23-1, a bylaw to amend bylaw 03-23, a bylaw respecting the remuneration of council for the Municipal District of St. Stephen be given its third and final reading. Councillor Mover? Okay, second? Second. Cornish? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried, thank you. All right, on to new business. Request for decisions. I'll take a mover and seconder for the adoption of the audited 2023 consolidated financial statements presented by Teaden Saunders. Whoa.
Yeah, you still do by motion.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Teaden Saunders, Doyle and Company. The proposed resolution that the audited 2023 consolidated financial statements be approved as presented.
So moved.
Councillor Wright. Councillor Eastman. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. Thank you. All right. Mover and seconder for municipal plan bylaw M4. I'll take a mover and seconder before I read it all. Deputy Mayor Wheaton, Councillor Heislip, that the council set the date for the public presentation of the proposed municipal plan at the next meeting of council on March 26, 2025, in compliance with the Community Planning Act. Any questions? Are we setting a date? That's the date? We're sticking with it? Everyone good?
Well, it's my wife's birthday.
I won't be here neither, actually. I'm going to be in Fredericton. But it'll be enough. So,
She's watching and she'll.
I'm coming home from Fredericton to be here.
yeah, well, then I might then. No, I can't, because the most important things happen at 6. That's where you make all the connections. Anyway, sorry, we're rolling on here. I had a mover and seconder. And no more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. Thank you. All right, Scotiabank borrowing resolution. Mover and seconder for
Your worship, with the unanimous.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to read these.
Oh, thank you. That's right, we did that.
Council unanimously agrees to waive the reading.
Is everyone good? It's written and documented in the package. All right. So I'll take a mover and seconder for the Scotiabank borrowing resolution that is as printed in detail in our package. Councillor Heislip, Councillor Harding. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. Thank you, Jeff, for that suggestion. All right. So, same thing. Mover and seconder for the RBC borrowing resolution. Councillor Eastman, Councillor Greenlaw. Any questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried as printed in our package. Thank you. And we will take a mover and seconder to accept the council reports. Oh, I heard a couple all at the same time. Wait, okay, I heard a Councillor Greenlaw and a Deputy Mayor Wheaton. Okay, any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And I'll take a motion to move to close following this meeting? Counselor Cornish and Counselor Eastman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you.